What are microaggressions and how common are they? Counselor Roni White is here to explain microaggressions and their impact on mental health and well-being. That's next on Wellbeing Matters. Thank you for tuning in to Wellbeing Matters. Roni White is a licensed, nationally certified counselor who supports individuals coping with microaggressions and other life stressors. Roni, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Honored to be speaking with you today for all of MCPS.
Roni, help us understand microaggressions.
We hear microaggressions a lot, and they break down into categories of microassaults, microinvalidations, and microinsults. Some people are off-put by the term micro, thinking that it's minimizing what's happening, and it's not. If you think on an economic point of macro and micro, so macro would be more of the systemic issues that we talk about, or even if you hear the term systemic racism, where micro thinking about it as individual, right? And so then the micro assaults are these blatant attacks that can be verbal, nonverbal, or environmental. And typically forms of racism that we know fall under micro assaults when there's individualized racism. Then micro insults are those that also can be verbal, nonverbal, environmental. And it's really attacking someone's minoritized characteristic, one or many. So a lot of like even sexism can fall under a micro insult. And then you have micro invalidations. And micro invalidations are, again, it can be environmental, behavioral, verbal, nonverbal. And these also will more likely look to minimize, dismiss, or as the term says, invalidate someone's lived experience based on a marginalized characteristic.
So what is the impact of microaggressions on someone's mental health and well-being?
Yeah, it is profound, to be honest with you. It can really result in these unnerving feelings just at the bare minimum. And I want to start there because oftentimes also with microaggressions, you question yourself and you're not even sure if what you just experienced should result in this internal experience of incredible discomfort and unease and displeasure that you're going through. And then when you have repeated microaggressions that you are suffering and either not understanding or understanding, it can be very painful. So we're talking about from, like I said, incredible discomfort all the way to increased anxiety, depression, traumatic response, powerlessness, invisibility, not being heard, starting to feel like moments of insanity, thinking that what you're perceiving is not real and there's something wrong with then you. Incredible frustration, anger, just to name a few.
Yeah, now that you mention that, one of the questions that is going through my mind is, how do you begin to heal when you have experienced repeated microaggressions?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I really like to think of it twofold. So first and foremost, acknowledging and learning what is going on. And once you understand that this is actually happening and accepting it as the reality that is around you, then determining what is healing. So really that definition of healing is going to be incredibly important of what you're looking for. We've seen time and time again, different people advocate for themselves in different ways, whether it's in the news, in the workforce, and what have you. And sometimes that can look in a very positive way, where when I say positive way, meaning the result. And other times it can look in a very negative way, meaning the result. And so there's no one guarantee to say, if you go about it this way, that you're going to get the results that you're looking for. Now, turning inward and understanding if you are feeling and experiencing extreme anxiety, which is crippling for you. Yes, there are ways to attune to the anxiety and to be able to manage it to help yourself and your daily functioning. Unfortunately, there are times when it's happening in the workplace. Sometimes, and this is a very unfortunate answer, but it is an answer in reality, you may need to change your work environment. Because we are not in the power to change other people. We can work on it and we can try, but we cannot change another person. And sometimes for someone's own health, that may end up being the answer. And sometimes it's a very hard answer to accept.
Absolutely. So, speaking of healing, what are supports and resources available for people who are coping with microaggressions?
Therapists, counselors, if your, MCPS has the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, affinity groups, and depending on how, I'm not going to speak for MCPS's HR, but depending on how a human resources department is constructed, there may be supports there as well. Also, if departments of equity and inclusion can be supportive. So healing is multifaceted. And it really does start with acknowledging what's going on, understanding what's going on, understanding how it's affecting you, understanding what you need, understanding your resources that are available to you, and being patient with self, understanding that once you recognize this is going on and you're taking this journey, it may not all be healed in the way or resolved in the way that you desire, because you are working with other human beings.
Roni, thanks so much for joining us for this very important conversation.
Thank you for having me. It is incredibly important, as this is people's lived experiences on a daily basis, and it causes a lot of emotional and mental pain.
So that's all the time that we have for today, but the conversation is ongoing. And next month, we'll have Roni back to discuss how to avoid committing microaggressions and how to interrupt them if we observe them happening. MCPS employees, please know if you're experiencing microaggressions or want to learn more, the Equity Unit, along with the Employee Assistance Program, is here to provide confidential support. Thank you for tuning into Wellbeing Matters, and be well, everyone.